Sound speeds. And ever since I started this channel, people have been asking me if I could recommend any discount wireless products to them. And sadly, to date, my answer has been no, because I only have experience with the pro stuff. But then Movo reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in testing out their new 2.4 gigahertz wireless system. And I said no, because it's 2.4 gigahertz. And personally, I think that ship has sailed. But then they said, well, why don't you check out our wireless products and see if there is anything in there that interests you? And there was one thing. A dual system that has dual channel receiver and two transmitters. That is the WMX-20-Duo system. And I said, well, I'll do that one, but here's the catch. I don't want just one, I want two. That way I have 4 total channels of wireless to play with. And that doesn't seem unreasonable to me because most audio recorders this day and age have at least 4 channels. Honestly, I didn't think they'd say yes, but they did. So full disclosure, Movo did send me 2 of the WMX-20-Duo wireless kits in exchange for a fair review. I get to keep them following this review, and they had no input into this review, so you can expect this to be a fair and honest review. So if you're watching this video and saying, well, just tell me right now, should I go ahead and buy a whole bunch of them? Don't get ahead of yourself, because when you invest in wireless, you need to make a full investment. Otherwise, it's going to cost you far more than good audio. If you don't know what to invest in and you don't know how to make a wireless system work for you, then here's the truth. Don't even bother. The cost of the wireless UHF transmitter and receiver is a small part of the investment you have to make if you want to do it properly. And in this video, not only am I going to do a full review of the Movo WMX-20-Duo kit ×2, I'm also going to give you some pro tips for best results if you are interested in making that investment, whether it's this system or not. The WMX-20-Duo kit sells for between about $250 and $300 if you don't want to wait on a discount for it. But as of the time of this recording, it's selling for $200. There's linked down in the description. Now, for that, you get 2 transmitters and 1 dual receiver. And the cardboard box it comes in looks like a retail package that you would buy in a store. It looks pretty impressive, actually. When you open it up, there is a plastic carrying case that contains everything you need in this kit. Everything on the inside is packed up pretty nicely in these little baggies, with the exception of the transmitter and receiver. And as for the documentation, it goes up nicely behind the foam inside the top of the lid. The kit comes with 2 wireless microphones with TRS locking 3.5mm or 1/8 inch connectors. There's a locking TRS to a non-locking TRS cable, which allows you to lock in place on your line output of your receiver and go directly into your camera or an auxiliary input, wherever you want the sound to go. There's also a locking TRS to a single XLR, which allows you to go single channel out of the receiver directly into a system that has an XLR input. There's a Culture adapter that you can mount onto the transmitters or receivers, but if you mount it onto the receiver, you can put it on top of your camera and then go straight in there. Now, each of the Lavs comes with 2 foam windscreens, so even if you lose one, you have a backup. The transmitters and receivers have an all-plastic body and a metal clip on the back. Now, the plastic body gives a little bit to the touch, and honestly, I wouldn't really trust it if you were to drop it. It's probably not going to resist very much impact. Each transmitter and dual receiver has a battery tray that pulls out, and inside of it, you need to put in 2 AA batteries and slide it in, lock it in place, and then it will power up. On top of the transmitter, you have a power on off button, you have a mic level input for a lavalier, and you have a line level input. And both of those inputs are locking TRS connectors. On the front of the unit, you have a plus, a set, and a minus. Now, if you turn the unit on, after a few seconds, it's going to automatically lock. And to unlock it, you press and hold the plus and minus together. And once it's unlocked, you can go up or down and select the channel that you would like, frequency-wise. Now, the set you can use to either set that once you've selected the frequency you want, or you can press and hold set, and it will automatically jump between frequency channels A and B. So right now it's on B, press and hold set, and it's going to go to A. The battery tray locks in place pretty easily, and there is a metal clip on the back with a 1/4 inch 20 thread on the inside for you to mount to the cold shoe or to whatever you want to that has that particular screw thread. The easiest way for you to get the batteries out of the sled is by pressing in the little holes in the back, and the batteries will fly right out. The dual receiver looks almost exactly like the transmitter, with exception of the power button on the side, making room for 2 antennas on top. And instead of these being locking TRS inputs, because this is a receiver, it's dual outputs. Now, this is a line level here, and this is a headphone here. So you can actually listen to both of them. You can go line out on both of them if you'd like to, or listen headphones on either one of them as well. But that's what they're labeled for. Now, on the front, if you press and hold the plus and minus to unlock it, you're going to see that the very first thing it gives you the option of is your channel A wireless. And this is currently set to channel 1. And if I press set, now it says volume level. Now, this is for the output. I'm going to go ahead and set it to 30, which seems to be perfectly clear. The range is 1 to 31, and I like 30. It seems to be a very good, clean setting output, especially considering the price point. You press and hold, or you press rather set again, and now it says channel A on. You have the option to turn it off if you would like to, in which case you'll see the little battery or the antenna A go off, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, which once it pairs with a transmitter, it will turn on right there. If you press set, now it says channel B, same kind of thing. Channel, the volume output right there, and you can turn channel B off. And then if you press it again, it says mono or stereo. If you go stereo out, you'll have both channels of wireless coming in, but it can only go out the TRS output to, splitting the channels. It's unbalanced, basically. If you go mono out, then you can take it to a TRS, or rather the XLR, and go directly into a recorder, but you only have one channel there. Pretty basic functionality and build quality, right? Well, what did you expect for $125 per wireless selectable frequency UHF channel? Now, how does it sound though? Well, you've been listening to it. The Lav has been right here, and this is the stock configuration. All I did was coordinate the frequency and plug it straight into my Sound Devices Mix Pre 6 with one channel going directly out of the receiver. This is how it sounds. Can you plug in different lavaliers if you'd like to? Well, yes, you can. This is a Shure Twinplex, more than twice the price of this wireless transmitter and receiver dual unit. And yes, it does work just fine with something as long as it's wired correctly. All is well and good if your transmitter and receiver are only about 2 feet apart like it is right now, but how does it compare to 2.4 gigahertz wireless in the real world? Well, to start, 2.4 gigahertz wireless is a little bit more forgiving with regards to setup and actual functionality, but it does share frequencies with a lot more devices, everything from microwave ovens to your Wi-Fi out there in the real world. Plus, Bluetooth on everyone's phone is always on, but there is a lot of 2.4 gigahertz RF in the air that's going to potentially cause interference, as opposed to the UHF frequencies that this system operates in, which are usually shared by things like digital television stations and other users of pro wireless frequency ranges. Now, you heard me say frequency coordinate, and you might be asking, is it even necessary? Well, here's the thing. You can go through and blindly select different frequencies on your wireless transmitter and receiver if you like to, but there is a lot of RF in the air. Believe me, pros have to deal with it every single day. And we do scanning for our pro wireless system. So is it necessary? Well, I would definitely say it is, especially if you're an amateur using discount amateur gear. Basically put, if pros do it, then you should too. If you want to learn some basics about wireless RF, I have a video about that if you'd like to check it out right there. But I'm going to go into it a little bit in this video, at least enough for you to understand exactly how to use these things properly. Since we're talking about discount wireless here and Movo does not have a frequency coordination app, instead we're going to be using something called TXAdvance, which is available for a price in the Google Play Store. No, it's not available on Apple. They don't play well with something called software-defined radio. Now, in speaking of software-defined radio, this is what it looks like. And the USB-A right here, which you would plug into what's called an OTG adapter for on the go. And then this software-defined radio plugs into your phone or whatever device you're going to be using for your frequency coordination. Now, this right here is ready to go once you get the app. Now, these antennas and the SDR itself is going to cost about $44 roughly as of the time of this recording. And these are available, the adapters, for maybe $8 or so. I put links down in the description for everything if you'd like to check it out. Now, how would you actually use the TXAdvance software with this app? Let me show you. Here's the main TXAdvance screen, and by default, it automatically displays the thing you had last open, which in this case was me frequency coordinating 2 channels of the Movo wireless. But for this video, we're going to frequency coordinate 4 channels. Now, let the truth be known, you could do as many as you'd like to. And all you need to do in order to do that is create a list of all the transmitters that the system is going to be coordinating for and let them know which frequency ranges they can use and what have you. So to do this, you have to go into List Manager at the top in the center. And then I'm going to click on New List on the right-hand side. And I'm going to give it the name of Movo 4CH. That way I know it's Movo 4 channels of wireless. And I'm going to hit Add TX. Now, if you notice, it says AKG 450 Band 1. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to change that, scrolling down to the Movo WMX-20. Now, under model, notice it says TXA. There are single kits you can get that are either TXA or TXB, and it basically corresponds to the frequency range that's on the right-hand side. But I have the dual kit, which includes one of each. So I'm going to say TXA for this one. And then for transmitter names, since we are dealing with the number 1 receiver, and this is model number A, I'm going to select 1A and then choose the color of red. I'm going to hit save in the bottom right-hand corner. And now we're good to go. Because we have basically set that as our template, we can go in and adjust the other ones as needed. So I'm going to hit add TX 2, 3 more times. So now we have a total of the 4 channels we're going to be doing. But notice the name, 1A, TX2, TX3, TX4. Well, I'm going to go in there and change that. Also, I want to change the color, and we're going to call this one color blue. And this one is going to be, just to make things more difficult here, let's do this actually with the number in front again, like on the previous one, call this 1B. And that indicates that this is going to be transmitter or receiver rather 1, and this is going to be model number B. So at this point, you see it's blue and it's TXB. So this is now one complete kit up at the top. For TX3, I'm going to go in and this is going to be receiver number 2. And this is going to be model number A, which is correct. And then I'm going to choose color green for this one, hit save. Now for the last one, it's going to be 2B, and I'm going to choose TX model B, and I'm going to choose the color of orange. And then by hitting save, now it's ready to go. Now, if you notice here, it says Movo WMX-20 and then TXB underneath that, and then TXA and TXB. Well, let's just say I wanted to get all the TXAs together. Well, on the right-hand side of each one of these lines, you see the up and down arrows. Well, I'm going to hit the up arrow on 2A and push that up so that way it's now underneath 1A and above 1B. So now the 2 TXAs are at the top and the 2 TXBs are at the bottom. Let's go ahead and leave it this way for the time being, and I'm going to hit save in the lower right-hand corner. Now, the next thing you might look at and say, wait a minute, you're back on Movo 2 channel. Well, that's correct. I haven't actually told the system I want to use this list in a new location. So you see where it says Movo 2 channel, we'll go across to the right, and you see where there's a little plus sign. I'm going to hit that plus sign, give it a location name, and we're going to call this, let's say sound speeds. And, oops, let's spell it right. Thank you, autocorrect. Location comments, I'm going to leave empty for right now, but you see the list of transmitters? I'm going to choose Movo 4 channel, which was defaulted in there. And it shows the list of frequencies that it could potentially coordinate to. And notice it says low frequency limit is 470, but if you look at the Movo 4 channel list, there's only 556.710 to 595.660. So I don't really need this to coordinate outside of that range. So what I'll do is I'll set it for 556.000, let's say. At a high limit, we're going to do 590. Let's do 596. 596. And we're going to say, there we go. Oops, let's go 00. We'll just make sure that way it's even. Okay, so we don't really need to do anything else except hit save in the lower right-hand corner, and now it's going to pop up ready to go with this list. And you see where it says all the channels at the bottom, and it has all the different configurations. Now, if you're not familiar with TXAdvance and what those little 2T30, 3T30, and all those, what that means, I'll leave the link to the live stream that I did with the creator of this app in the upper right-hand corner right now. So now I want to run a scan. Well, provided that my antenna is correctly plugged into the USB-C on my phone and my GPS is turned on, I can hit scan, and where it says geotag true, I'm going to hit yes. And it's going to do a scan of the frequency range that I just programmed in there that matches the frequencies that are on the transmitters in the list. It's saving the values. Now, this shows that there are transmitters already on, and that's because I'm actually running a test across the room right now with those channels right now. But let's just say that this is a scan that we have in the area. There's already 4 channels of wireless in use. Well, if I want to find the very best places for me to plug in the frequencies that I'm currently using in this list, I'm going to hit on the little star with the 2 little stars next to it, which is all the way on the right-hand side where it says Movo 4 channel. And it's going to say, would you like to frequency coordinate for all transmitters? I'm going to click yes. So you see it created a list of all the different frequencies that I should program each transmitter to. But in order for you to make sense of that, you can see that it has certain frequencies listed, but you don't know how to plug that in when the actual display on the front of the transmitters only has CH followed by a 2-digit number. So what you have to do is refer to the channel/frequency listing created by Movo. And I put it on the screen right there if you'd like to print it out. It's as simple as matching up the frequency listed here in the TXAdvance app with the channel that corresponds to that frequency in the Movo documentation. And then, of course, you have to set everything accordingly. Just so it's been said, you should only ever frequency coordinate with all of your transmitters turned off. That way you get an idea of the way the spectrum actually looks and the best frequencies for you to plug your transmitters into. Now, in my case here, I'm already running a test over there with all 4 transmitters turned on, but this serves as a realistic position that you could be in sometimes if you're in a place where there's multiple different wireless channels that you would have to frequency coordinate around. If you start running into what you think are RF issues and you want to see how the frequency spectrum looks where your transmitters are, if you click on that L just to the right of center on the screen, then you'll come up into the live check, which allows you to click on each channel of your wireless and then click on start. And what will happen is you can look at that frequency spectrum live right where any of these frequencies would lay. So right now that's TX for 1A. This is 2A. This is 1B, and this is 2B, and there's really nothing at all in that frequency range. So let's just say that one of your transmitters is starting to experience some hits in the wireless signal, and you want to look at that frequency and see if there's anything perhaps interfering with it. If you drag your finger across and pick on one of those lines that is aligned with one of these very, very high spikes there, which you suspect is one of your wireless frequencies that you're competing with, and you can see my finger is not really dialing in on it enough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in the same way as you do anything else, a picture on your phone, and then it makes it a lot easier for you to click on the exact frequency it is. Now you see right underneath that it says 564.105 megahertz. So that's what we need to actually search. So 564.105, I'm going to click the 3 arrows in the upper right-hand corner, go to live check. Now for the frequency, I'm going to do 564.105, hit checkbox down there. And now what I'm going to do is hit start. When I do that, it's going to bring up the frequency for 561.105. And you can see that that is definitely a transmitter that is right there. And if I click on, if decay is not clicked right there and you want to see what it would actually look like and you click on decay, then it just basically puts a list of everything that's on there, and the peak amplitudes are going to continue to be listed there at any given time, but decay will start to fall off over time. So that way it's a more accurate representation over time as to how things are. Now, again, you can click on any of your channels down below and see what the frequency spectrum looks like there, or you can just put in another frequency if that's what you want to actually check. It's pretty cool. So let's just say you want to change one of the frequencies that these transmitters are set to because you don't trust the wireless frequency it's on anymore. Well, let's say that channels 1A is right, 1B is right, and 2B is right. And so we're going to click on the little lock there to lock those in place. And then if we click scan, again, it's going to scan the air and create an accurate spectrum analysis of the way that it currently looks. And then when you click on the same little 3 stars, the big star and the 2 little stars on the right, it's going to coordinate for just that one channel, leaving the other ones untouched. And if you click on the channel, you can bring up all the different potential intermod issues that are related to any of the potential channels that you have if you pick them. So if I want to pick one that's completely clear with the best possible value and I click on auto, it's going to find that the very best one for me right now is 559.170. Notice that on the same screen in the upper left-hand corner, I can choose to lock this frequency, or I can even turn off the transmitter if I just don't want to use it anymore. We know how well this transmitter and receiver work up close, but what about a range test? Now, different than 2.4 gigahertz wireless, which could adaptively frequency hop quite often in a range with heavy amounts of RF, once you kind of use your frequency coordination app and dial in on the very best possible frequency for you, UHF is going to be pretty much set, and it's going to be a lot more robust. So you don't need to really worry about going into a very, very RF heavy environment, because once it finds its one frequency that it's good with, it's going to be pretty good as long as you have your transmission power and a pretty decent quality receiving antenna on the other end. Maybe kind of difficult for you to see me, but I'm at the far end of the parking lot, about to go behind a couple of these containers. And I'm going to be slowly driving back towards now. We're going to see exactly at what point I pop back into range. Now, this is a line of sight wireless range test in a place where there's like not really any bad frequencies or anything. So, I mean, everything is very clear in this environment. And at the point you hear me popping back in on both channel 1 and channel 2, keeping in mind that this is the cleanest of frequencies out here, a frequency coordinated using the TXAdvance app. So if you can hear me at all, any point in here, then you know it's because we have good free, clear wireless, and it's been coordinated. And just because we can, we're going to do the same exact thing as I'm driving away from the shot right now. There's a little bit of a wind picking up, so hopefully it's not going to knock anything over there in camera world. You're looking at the camera right now, though, watching me drive away, so you can see that there's not really any issues going on. Otherwise, I'd be complaining pretty badly. So it's one of those things where when you're shooting a video, you're thinking to yourself, oh, all bad things could happen. And then when you're looking at it later, you're saying, oh, there was nothing after all. And as I'm shooting this, I'm going to loop back around here and try this one last time to see if there's issues with the frequencies that we are picking up as we are driving either to or from camera. Right now I am driving back towards the camera as we speak, and we're going to see if there is any issues that we are running into the wireless. It's funny because as of the time of this video, and I'm recording this, the warehouses that I'm shooting at, they just sit over security to park right behind my camera, and they're now looking at it. So we'll see if I can clear out of this location as soon as possible. That was a line of sight test, which is a best case scenario, but how well does this transmitter transmit through things? Channel 1 wireless is right here, and channel 2 wireless is right here, and they match the pockets. I'm going to turn and walk and see how far I can go walking through all these vehicles. Now there's one truck I'm passing over here on the side. I'm approaching the mall, and we're going to see at what point these things cut out. And I'm passing another car, passing another minivan, and another minivan. There are a lot of minivans out here today, apparently. So we're going to see exactly how far and how many minivans away I can get, keeping in mind also that the wireless packs are kind of in the front of my body right now. So my body is baffling the wireless signal as well as the cars itself. So at any point in time, this signal could go out. And we're going to see exactly how far I'm able to go with this before the signal cuts out. Honestly, if I'm all the way to the wheelchair parking lot right now, so if you still have a signal on me here, then I'd be very, very surprised. So I'm going to turn around and walk on back now toward the car. We're going to see at what point the wireless kicks back in gear. I'm walking now past a bunch of cars. You can see them all in the background there. It's a pretty nice day. It's slightly overcast, not really rainy just yet, but it's been kind of teasing it a little bit off and on here this morning. So I'm about 6, because another vehicle just pulled in here. Vehicles away from my car. Oh man, I was mistaken. It's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vehicles away. And we're passing about 3 more between the wireless units in the car and me right now with the transmitters on the front of my body. So right now I am line of sight to the camera, so you can see me coming back into the shot right over there. How did it do? It should be noted that the receiving antenna was pretty low inside my car, and if you want to get very best possible results, you got to get your receiving antennas up high, so that way it can look more line of sight to the transmitter. So since we're doing pro testing and going to be showing you some pro tips on how to get the very best performance out of these devices, I did go online to see what the biggest complaints were, and most of it, hands down, had to do with battery life. Well, guess what? Pros have the same exact issues when we deal with pro wireless. Battery life is a reality that you're going to have when you're dealing with transmission and receiving too, if you're using a battery operated receiver like the one that we're using today. But just like with the TXAdvance app, I do have a solution for you, but it does require, again, a little bit of an investment. Technically, you can use any AA battery that you like, but do you really want to use something that comes out of like a PCR COVID test? Or would you rather get some sort of a good battery option that's going to last more than about an hour? I tested 4 different types of batteries in this video. On the far left, we have ProCell alkalines, which sell for about 44 cents in a pack of 144. Yes, 144 batteries. To the right of that, left of center, we have the Duracell Quantum alkalines, which sell for $1.43 a piece if you get them in a pack of 28. To the right of that one, right of center, you have the IKEA Lada nickel metal hydride batteries, which sell for $2.50 in a pack of 4. And on the far right, you have the consumer marketed white in a loop nickel metal hydride batteries, which sell for $2.97 in a pack of 16. Keep in mind that each transmitter and receiver requires 2 batteries. So if you're using 1 channel of wireless, it's going to require 4 batteries, and 2 channels of wireless is going to require 6. If you've been watching on the screen, you'll see that the rechargeable batteries last much longer. The best results came from the IKEA Lada 2450 mAh batteries, and the reason I chose those is because that is what a lot of us pros use. The IKEA batteries lasted over 9 hours, and at $2.50 a piece, you may look at that and say, oh no, that's too expensive for me, but then in order to get the discounts on the alkaline batteries, you have to buy it in a humongous amount of bulk. And when you do that, you might as well spend the same money on the rechargeables, which is a better investment, and they last much longer. So what do I think of the Movo WMX-20-Duo system? Well, it's very basic, it's very simple to use, and it includes everything you need. It's clean enough to give you good results, provided that you use frequency coordination. If you're a content creator, you could do quite well with this system. It's extremely good considering the low price point. It's probably better than we deserve for the price point, let the truth be known. But then you get what you pay for with regards to features and build quality. One thing I did find that Movo should pay attention to is that the antennas, at least on my units, were too short. They're tuned for a frequency range around 690 megahertz. And if I were to guess, I would say that this is probably because Movo designed this wireless system prior to July 13th of 2020, when the legal frequency range in the United States went all the way up to 700 megahertz. And after that date, they continued to sell this wireless system, but in a frequency range that was legal, but they didn't readjust the antenna length. And personally, I hate this clip design. I don't like it on the Audio Limited A10s. I don't like it on the Sennheisers. I'm just not a fan of it. It's also analog, not digital, so don't expect encryption. If I brought my receiver out next to your receiver, I could pick up your audio. Don't expect miracles out of this wireless system, but provided that you know how to properly take care of your gear, they should perform quite well for you. This is the 5th time I've used these wireless units, and they are working great for me. Use the right batteries, and it's cost effective. If you frequency coordinate your channels, you're going to get the very best possible performance out of these units. You shouldn't have an issue punching through walls at a short distance, and as far as line of sight range, you're going to have plenty of range. Hopefully this video sets you up for success if you're interested in investing in wireless UHF, like for example, the Movo WMX-20-Duo kit, which there are links down in the description if you'd like to check them out. And I personally think that as far as this system is concerned, it's a great system, especially considering the money. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of SoundSpeeds. Be sure to tune in the future for more tips and tricks and best possible practices. And of course, as always, sound advice. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.